Heyo, Duck of the Stars here, back at it again with yet another video. Today is November 18th, 2022, which not only means that it's the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but it also marks the 10th anniversary of the Nintendo Wii U's release. Yes, you heard me right. It has officially been 10 years since Nintendo's worst selling piece of hardware released. And given I'm one of maybe 5 people whose childhood was influenced and inspired by this device, I figured I might as well make an entire video dedicated to it. Of course, we're going to look over the console itself and maybe delve into a little bit of the history as well. So join me today as we look back at the legacy of the Nintendo Wii U. Before I get into the video, if you guys haven't liked this video, subscribe to my channel, and maybe even turned on the notification bell already, please take the chance to do so now. As a small creator, it's inspiration and feedback from you guys which helps me to create more content like this. As a full-time college student and worker, it can be tough to find the time to make these videos, so I want to make sure that they're worth it for you guys as well. On that topic, this channel did actually reach 200 subscribers last week, and I'd love to celebrate that with you guys somehow. So if you have any idea how I should celebrate, or you just want to see me do something stupid, please leave that down in the comments below as well. I won't waste any more time, let's get straight onto the video. For starters, I think it's best if we just take a look at the console itself. And there it is. The Wii U console itself has a pretty sleek design. I actually enjoyed it as a kid, although nowadays I can understand why people dislike it. The glossy finish makes it very hard not to notice dust and fingerprints. One of the nice things about this console is actually how many USB ports it has. It has 4 USB ports in total, which puts it ahead of both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It was Nintendo's first console to support HDMI, which in and of itself is impressive. However, the Wii U does not add up in comparison to its rivals, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I won't get too deep into the specs here, as regardless, it's going to look pretty unimpressive. To put it into perspective though, as to how far behind it was in comparison to its competitors, the Wii U came with 8 or 32 gigabytes of storage, whereas its competitors usually came with 500 gigabytes, or even up to a terabyte. In all fairness, the Wii U wasn't meant to stack up to its competitors. Now we're going to take a look at what makes the Wii U really interesting, the gimmick. I mean the gamepad. And here it is. Here's the Nintendo Wii U gamepad next to the Nintendo Switch, just for comparison's sake. As you can tell, this thing is quite bulky, although impressive given this was only in 2012. Truthfully, I always found the Wii U gamepad to be quite comfortable, although I have much larger hands than the average person, and I only ever played this in middle school and higher. From an adult standpoint, the Wii U gamepad is very comfortable to use. Honestly, this device feels like it could just be a prototype for the Nintendo Switch. It has everything that the Nintendo Switch has, and more. It even comes with a stylus, which of course was something Nintendo did with every console back in the day. The main idea of the gamepad wasn't bad either. Of course, Nintendo had already done something like this with the DS earlier, but they decided to take Nintendo's DS format and move it to the big screen. So not only could you play your games on the gamepad exclusively, but you could play your game on the TV, also see something entirely different on the gamepad. Now this idea is actually fantastic in theory, because you could take maps, inventories, menus, and put them easily accessible for you, right in front of you. Unfortunately, things didn't really turn out this way. See, you can't realistically add this kind of support for every single game, but that's what Nintendo required by requiring the gamepad. Not many companies were willing to release their games with this feature if they were already being released on Xbox and PlayStation without the need for this feature. By the end, even Nintendo themselves weren't really using this feature, and when they did, it felt like it was forced. It no longer felt like an innovation, and rather something that dragged the console down. Some say the Wii U was doomed to fail from the start, and that's exactly what we're going to look at now, is a little bit of the history behind this peculiar little machine. It's impossible to discuss the Nintendo Wii U without discussing its predecessor, the Nintendo Wii. As a console marketed towards casual gamers, the Nintendo Wii blew up, becoming Nintendo's most popular console by far. By the end of its life cycle, the Nintendo Wii had sold 100 million units, which is twice as much as the next best-selling console. Pairing this with the staggering success of their handheld, the Nintendo DS, it was clear to see that Nintendo was dizzy with success. And when you have a successful product, it's essential under capitalism that you make sure it stays alive as long as possible. And so with both the DS and Wii, Nintendo decided to continue the line of consoles, but they decided to add an interesting twist to each of them. When Nintendo announced the Nintendo 3DS in 2010, it was met with skepticism. While the idea of glasses-free 3D sounded intriguing, 3D gaming and 3D movies were more of a fad from the times. Much like virtual reality today, people were unsure whether this would stay or not. Of course, as we all know now, it did not. So while their wildly more popular DS was experimenting with 3D, they decided to try something else with the Wii. It was evident that their innovation was at the center of their project, as when it was announced on June 7th, 2011, the Wii U's reveal trailer focused solely on the Wii U gamepad. This immediately caused problems as people didn't know whether this was just a new controller or a new console. After all, we already had Wii Sports, Wii Music, Wii Fit, and now Wii U. It seemed like it was just another gimmick for the Nintendo Wii, which by this point had lost nearly all of its original momentum. Nintendo would try to somewhat reverse this later, but the damage had been done from the get-go. People just didn't understand what the Wii U even was. One thing that certainly did not help their image were the ads. Nintendo thought it would be smart to advertise towards kids. After all, it was the casual market that they had captured with the Wii, so why not go for it again? Unfortunately for them, their marketing was absolutely abysmal, which meant that neither adults nor kids wanted to buy a Wii U. In fact, the ads had the exact opposite effect. Watching children act in poorly scripted ads made it difficult for anyone to want to buy a Wii U. The device almost seemed dorky, like it was an embarrassment to have it. Coming from personal experience, I remember people asking me growing up if I played any video games. Of course, I said I did, but when they'd ask me what console I'd played on, I'd have to think about it, because I was too embarrassed to tell anybody that I played on the Wii U. Fans were already upset at Nintendo for how casual the Wii was. It did not pander to hardcore gamers at all. This console, while in theory it was supposed to bring back that hardcore audience, only distanced them further. They've always been the family-friendly brand. However, this was the first generation in which I noticed that people were legitimately embarrassed to say that they owned this device. Most hardcore Nintendo fans could look past the ads, look past the embarrassment that was owning a Wii U. So how did the games compare? After all, it is Nintendo's idea that content and games should come before anything else. So what were the games on Wii U like? I don't even know where I can begin with Wii U games, because when they were good, they were amazing. I might as well then share some of my favorites. For instance, Hyrule Warriors, a hack-and-slash game developed by Koei Tecmo with Nintendo, successful enough that it got a sequel on Nintendo Switch, and also inspired a similar game in the Fire Emblem series. Wouldn't be the Wii U without Mario Kart 8, best-selling game on Wii U and Nintendo Switch, need I say more? Of course, there's also New Super Mario Bros. U and its counterpart New Super Luigi U, in my opinion the definitive editions of the New Super Mario Bros. Franchise. We have Pikmin 3, which is of course a full-blown sequel to the two GameCube titles which had released years earlier, showing Nintendo's commitment to its fans in producing more content for its less-known series. We have Pokken Tournament, which is in fact a crossover between Tekken and Pokemon. Perhaps the most well-known new game on Wii U was actually Splatoon, Nintendo's first new IP in a while, and gained such a massive following that 2 more games have come out on Switch already. You also can't go wrong with this generation's 3D Mario title, Super Mario 3D World. And in a move that shocked everybody, Nintendo actually let everyone design their own Mario levels with Super Mario Maker. Of course, this being a very creative concept, gained it a lot of attention, and there is now a sequel on Nintendo Switch as well. Again, on any Nintendo platform, there's always a staple of Super Smash Bros. The Wii U was no exception, and gave us a fantastic addition to the Smash Bros. Franchise. Together with Monolith Soft, Nintendo created a Xenoblade Chronicles game, one that actually hasn't been released outside of the Wii U. That would be Xenoblade Chronicles X. If you're not feeling something quite that intense, they have plenty in mind for the casual audience as well. Take, for example, Yoshi's Woolly World, which is a cute 2D platformer which took advantage of a yarn art style. I could go on here, however, I am running out of games to show off, especially because now we have to talk about the not so great side of these games. I think there's no better way than to show off what Nintendo is like during this era than to show off Wii Sports Club. Now, this game I actually enjoy quite a bit. However, it is just the same game that released on the Wii back in 2006, the only difference being that it's now in HD. And as fantastic as Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort are, Wii Sports Club, of course, follows those same trends. It is, in another sense though, bland. There are plenty of games in the Wii U library that follow this trend as well. For instance, Paper Mario Color Splash. Now this game looks beautiful, has great writing, but feels soulless. Mario Party 10 had this issue as well. It had a great idea in theory, using the gamepad to control Bowser while the other players controlled, of course, the rest of the Mario cast. Sadly, this seemed to just be another cash grab. It felt as if there was no effort into making the world around it feel authentic. Another game which fans seemed to take an issue with was actually Star Fox Zero. People were really hyped for this game. It had been a while since we had another Star Fox game in the franchise. Like a lot of these other games, it too underperformed. Nintendo had set a high bar for themselves, and with each time they released a new game, it seemed like they weren't reaching those standards. There are some games we just don't even talk about. Not worth it. So why were these problems so persistent in the Wii U era? There's actually a very simple answer, and it's that nobody wanted to make games for this thing. Most major third-party companies had already stopped producing games for the Wii U by 2013. Its failure was so evident that only a year after it had been released, almost everybody abandoned Nintendo. And so, Nintendo had to make every major game for the Wii U by themselves. The failure of the Wii U was evident to Nintendo as well, as by 2015 they were already working on Project NX, which we would later know to be the Nintendo Switch. So during this era where they could have been producing fantastic games for this device, they were straining themselves in order to make another console which wouldn't flop as hard as the Wii U. Luckily, the fruits of their labor paid off, and the Nintendo Switch is now Nintendo's biggest success. This did also cause the premature death of the Wii U. The last major game to come out on the floundering console was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on March 3rd, 2017. After that, Nintendo put all of their marketing effort on the new console. People have their theories on what could have made the Wii U more successful, but those aren't reality. It also isn't fair though to call the Wii U a complete failure. Yes, it did not sell well, but it did have its moments. Furthermore, because it's no longer Nintendo's main console and no longer sells for $350, it's much easier to get your hands on one nowadays and appreciate all the games for what they are. If you came to this video looking for a what if, and I assume many of you did, then I will give you my definitive answer, which is yes, it is worth it, but there's a major asterisk. As of now, November 18th, 2022, the Wii U is relatively cheap, and its games are relatively cheap as well. In fact, I've made a whole video detailing how much money you'll save by buying the Wii U versions rather than the Nintendo Switch Deluxe versions of the games. You can find that here. But it's important to keep in mind that the Wii U doesn't have very many games outside of the first-party games, and the few indie games that are left exclusive to the Nintendo eShop are going away permanently after March 27th, 2023. After that date, it will no longer be possible to access any of those exclusives without homebrewing your console, which is another argument in and of itself. For that reason, the Wii U should be treated going forward as a retro console and not as a modern one. It's a relic, much like the Wii, the original Xbox, the PlayStation 2, the GameCube. All of those consoles are great examples of what the Wii U will become in the near future. Nintendo has already started talking about its next console after the Switch. And with that new console comes more concerns from the community that Nintendo will do the same thing that they did following the Wii. However, it's important to understand the unique situation that the Wii U was in throughout its lifespan, but also to look back and recognize all the good things that came out of it as well. The Wii U is a fascinating relic of Nintendo's history, and I hope it'll be the same after another 10 years. Whatever the future may hold for us gamers, it's just as important to go back and look at what we enjoyed before. Hopefully you learned something new about the Wii U in this video, or at least gained an appreciation of it in some variety that you didn't before. I'd love to make more content like this, so if you guys did enjoy the video, please let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, if you haven't subscribed to my channel or liked this video yet, please do so as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.